Silvia, why do you have a chapter on Darwinian Strength in the book, Democracy and Teacher Education?
Yeah, the reason for it is because we can see challenges as regards the broad forms of democracy. So as soon as you bring the broad democracy in the center of attention, you activate the questions about weakness and strength. And several examples in the book of the dilemmas we present in the book evolve around this tension. Because what broad democracy, we need to understand this, that when we talk about broad democracy, it's not easy, because we talk about being sensitive about issues like caring, we talk about relationships, tolerance, values, all of these soft values, which usually are cast out from science, the narrow form of science. So we need to pause, we need to think about this, because it causes questions like, oh my goodness, why do we have to discuss the minorities in the classrooms again? Come on, we are a majority here. And so forth. And we can also see that there are issues in the society at the moment where people tend to say that it's too much focus, at least in Sweden, too much focus upon these soft values. I mean, tougher the children need to be tougher. So why spoil them in this way? So the question about Darwinism and the Darwinian dimension here brought into the title, it's important to say something about that as well, because it's very much linked to Harold Oswald. So Harold Oswald did a book in the 70s about where he analyzed Hitler's Third Reich, the book, and tried to pick it to pieces and ponder about the details in it. And one of the conclusions he drew was that the perceptions and ideas and ideologies in this chapter very much were grounded in a content towards weakness. And historically, weakness has always been, pushed to the side. It's the strength that has been cherished. And one of the things that Harold then said was that what happens if we just focus upon, the strength? Well, it happens that violence tends to increase, because we tend to disregard people who are weak. And we have, a lot of research showing that, for instance, bullying and so forth, it's not that easy to just focus upon the strength, because we know that not paying regard to people's temporal weaknesses and the soft values actually make learning more difficult. And, if you've been bullied for a long time, it causes massive harm on you as an individual. You're traumatized, you have evidence of people having problems eating, you have it costs a lot because people don't go to work because you're home sick. It gives long-lasting effects in society. So it's not that easy to just, focus upon strength. We need to problematize it.
Yeah, and I like the idea of that problematizing, because then you're actually going in deeper there to look at that from a more holistic viewpoint. But when you're talking then about the soft values and the stronger values there in a society, is there a gendered dimension to this? And if there is, can you explain it to us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so when we look upon it, absolutely, there is a layer of gender issues here, because historically, always important to bring back history. So historically, we know that we have a tendency in societies, not just ours, but in societies in general, to divide things in two. And it's a very common thing to divide things in masculinity and femininity, masculine values, feminine values, masculine perceptions of the world, feminine values of the world. And seeing how history looks like, the masculine values has usually been more addressed and valued in general. And examples of that is the masculine values are strength, it's brutality, it's being hard, it's being rational, it's being sharp in judgment and so forth. And the feminine values and perceptions are more like, you know, being tolerant, caring, understanding, being emotional, contrary to rational, of course, and so forth. But what we know is that it isn't that easy, of course. That's something which we want to show as well, that we know that men are capable, and in practice also show these soft values, are better leaders because they are capable of addressing the practice and societies in a more holistic view, making it more sustainable in the long run. And opposite as well, we have a lot of examples of women who really embrace these masculine values and shut out all the feminine ones. So it's not a question about embodying these values, but values, how the consequences they come with when they are materialized in practice. That's what we bring here.
Yeah, that's very significant there,
Yeah.
that and relates very strongly, I guess, to the notion of democracy as well, and particularly teacher education, that blend and mix that we've been talking about right through the whole book. I think it probably threads through the entire book. So what do you think are the challenges in relation to Darwinian strength?
I see the challenges. I would like to lift that way. There are a lot of examples in the book about dilemmas, but on a broader level, I'd like to mention something about the way that democracy today is decreasing rapidly. So several major surveys which reoccur actually show that democracy is declining and moving towards more autocratic governing forms and sort of cherishing those more. And that is directly linked to this chapter because these forms of governments cherish strength more. And weakness is considered as something which should be put aside. So something is happening in society. And as I was mentioning in the beginning as well, what we can see in education is also reoccurring comments that, you know, we have these acts, and I know you have them in Ireland as well, that we want to sort of approach these soft values in education, yeah, the tolerance and the care and so forth. And we also have acts that have increased in Sweden, stressing the need to oppose discrimination and violation, reoccurring violation, which is bullying, and so for harassment and so forth. And all of these sort of requirements creates tensions where teachers say, well, I don't want to have this burden at all. I mean, let the children be tougher. And so it feels like a burden. It's like we've gone too far with these kind of questions. And you're going back to issues concerning strength.
Yeah, very important, because I mean empathy and all of these things are very important for social solidarity, for a democracy and everything. So those care relations matter a considerable amount in education. That
indeed.
moral and caring work is at the heart, and I suppose has been at the heart of the coronavirus pandemic and everything. So that Darwinian Strength chapter should really be at the centre really of the book, and it is really, I suppose, if you think of it in the book.
Yeah, and what we show is that there is a complexity, and that threads through the book. So it's not just about caring, it's of course also about the hard values, but it's the balance which we want to emphasize here. We need the balance.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.